For years, Ellen DeGeneres built a public image around kindness, but some critics have questioned whether that image matched her reputation behind the scenes. Comedian Ricky Gervais has also made jokes and comments about powerful figures in the entertainment industry, fueling online discussion. Some internet users have even speculated about possible connections between Ellen and Ghislaine Maxwell because they moved in similar celebrity circles. However, there is no verified public evidence that Ellen worked with or was involved in Maxwell's criminal activities, and these claims remain unproven.
She is a monster. She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious, she was evil, and she was a woman.
Her lawyers have said Ghislaine Maxwell is not a Jeffrey Epstein, that she has been a victim of media spin.
They're doing their job, but I know that woman. I've known her really well. Put it this way. Epstein was Pinocchio and she was Geppetto. She was the guy controlling
the strings.
Jeffrey. Yep, she was pulling the strings. She had his money. He had her contacts, but Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart than Epstein ever was.
Ellen DeGeneres' name has appeared in some publicly released Epstein-related records that include hundreds of public figures. However, being mentioned in those documents does not, by itself, imply wrongdoing. In recent years, viral videos and social media posts have fueled speculation about these records, including theories surrounding everyday references like pizza. While these claims continue to circulate online, none of them have been publicly verified as evidence of criminal activity.
The babies, the code words in the emails, literal emails of Epstein and Bill Gates. Like, these are known entities starting to talk about jerky. And then they're talking about the intestines of babies. They're talking about cream cheese. Like, I welcome anyone to prove me wrong because I hope to fucking hell this is not true. But when we mentioned jerky, that was the more elite meat is what I'm interpreting this as. There were emails from people, redacted names again, saying, hey, I have 68 pounds of jerky in my freezer. I'm not sure what to do with it. There were emails of, I need more jerky. I'm going to send it to the lab. When he knew they were coming after him, they knew they were going to come arrest him. He ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid, which is how you would dispose of babies. And there are mentions, and now Congress is actually speaking about it. They did this week, spoke about Zora Ranch and how there's so many mentions of bury them in Zora Ranch, leave them in Zora Ranch. And now that's 7,000 acres of land that Jeffrey Epstein owns in New Mexico. And it's actively working right now. And then just to add to that, the chef that was making the jerky, that was sending recipes, that was on the island was Francis Derby.
Who's that?
Francis Derby owns the restaurant Cannibal.
What?
Yes.
Wait, there's a restaurant called Cannibal?
Cannibal and Cooking.
Is it actual? No, it can't be. That'd be illegal.
It can't be, right? But is it so tongue-in-cheek? Did they think they were so fucking smart that they could go that far?
As online speculation grew, some social media users began re-examining old clips from the Ellen DeGeneres show. Around the same time, an unusual story shared by a former child guest also resurfaced online. The guest claimed to have witnessed a bizarre moment backstage involving Ellen, but the story has never been independently verified and should be treated as an unconfirmed personal account.
We've been hearing a lot of scary about Ellen DeGeneres since the pandemic hit. And anytime somebody mentions her name as something that sounds like a conspiracy, most likely people are going to believe it. So a man is claiming that when he was a kid, he was a guest on Ellen DeGeneres' show. And while he was there, he seen her do some unhuman, scary shit. So this man was a child prodigy chess player. He was a guest on Ellen DeGeneres' show. He said he did the show and everything went well. But when he got off set, he seen something that he never thought he would ever see in his life. He said he came off set, looked to his right, and saw that Ellen DeGeneres' dressing room was cracked open just a little bit. He saw her in there, and what he saw scared him for the rest of his life. He said Ellen was eating a chicken, a rotisserie chicken. But it wasn't that she was eating a chicken, it was how she was eating the chicken. He said he saw Ellen DeGeneres dislocate her whole jaw, open her mouth as wide as it can go, and stuff the whole chicken in her mouth. You heard what I just said? This man said he saw Ellen DeGeneres open her mouth as wide as she can, dislocate her jaw, and stuff a rotisserie chicken in her mouth and swallowed it. One go. Then she looked at him and she made a hissing sound. You know what that means, right? Of course, after seeing that, he had to be scared. He ran to his dressing room, told his mother, and his mother didn't believe him. Sound crazy.
Over the years, various rumors have circulated about Ellen DeGeneres' personal life and professional relationships. One topic that occasionally appears in online discussions is whether she ever crossed paths with Ghislaine Maxwell. While Maxwell was known for her connections to influential figures through her family and social network, there is no verified public evidence that she and Ellen worked together or were involved in any criminal activity. Much of the discussion remains based on speculation rather than confirmed facts.
If you grew up in the US, you are about to question your entire worldview. It turns out that the founder of McGraw-Hill is Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. If you forgot about McGraw-Hill, well, it's the company that produced all of your textbooks from elementary through high school. Maxwell's goal with McGraw-Hill was to dominate the entire US education market, which they did. But what you should know is that Maxwell was infamous for sneaking Israeli spy software into governments and financial institutions around the world. Most notably, he allegedly had snuck the software called Prism into Los Alamos, where the US was developing the nuclear bomb. The British government believed that Robert was part of Mossad and had him classified as a double, if not triple agent. Robert Maxwell also owned a massive publication called the Daily Mirror, which had direct ties to the Israeli government. They even ratted out one of the informants to the Israeli government, which ultimately had that individual kidnapped, taken to Israel, and imprisoned for 18 years. We all know that Robert's daughter, Ghislaine, is sitting in prison right now for one of the most horrific operations in human history. And Robert also pulled off one of the biggest corporate frauds ever recorded in history. He had stolen almost $500 million in his employees' pension funds to maintain political power and fund his businesses, which collapsed after he died. I'm going to wrap this video by reminding you once more, he was the owner of McGraw-Hill, the textbooks that you and I learned everything about the world from.
Which is how, mainly how Ghislaine got so enmeshed in New York society and also, teamed up with Epstein in that same period of time. So, all of this matters, and these connections are significant because this baton passing shows that this is a generational thing. And in the case of Maxwell, Robert Maxwell's children, at least the ones that were close to him, because you have two that sort of splintered off from the larger Maxwell clan, but are very open that, after he died, they were trying to figure out how to rebuild his empire and using his Rolodex of contacts to rebuild that. And they did, in doing so, you have Ian and Kevin doing all this, interesting financial stuff after, their father's death. And then the twins, Isabel and Christine, make this search engine company and get involved with Microsoft and Bill Gates and all this stuff back in the 90s. And Ghislaine Maxwell was reportedly involved in that too. And then also very involved with Epstein and all sorts of other things, and eventually becomes one of the main people at the UN developing sustainable development policy for the world's ocean.
Because of her background and social connections, Ghislaine Maxwell was known to move in circles that included many influential figures from business, politics, and entertainment. Some observers have pointed out that Maxwell and Ellen DeGeneres were associated with certain high-profile personalities during the same era. However, there is no public evidence showing that Ellen and Maxwell worked together or shared any involvement in criminal activity. Despite that, online discussions have continued to draw comparisons between various public figures and their social networks. One person frequently mentioned in these conversations is actress Anne Heche, Ellen's former partner, whose later comments about their relationship attracted significant media attention.
Heche explained how she was silenced by Ellen DeGeneres. Right before Anne Heche passed away, after 20 years, she finally started exposing the truth about what happened between her and Ellen. In the early 2000s, on the same day that Ellen and Anne broke up, it was reported all over the news stations that Anne had a nervous breakdown and she was actually hospitalized. And finally, after 20 years, Anne Heche said in this interview that Ellen was trying to silence her and she was actually the one that put her into the mental institution. She also explained how Ellen had her blackballed from Hollywood and pretty much ruined her career. And a lot of people found it really suspicious that Anne Heche started talking about it and how when you catch wind of it, you basically have to separate yourself, and how basically that we've all been lied to for years. And Anne Heche actually did 2 interviews on Ellen, and each time they were getting deeper and deeper, and she was revealing more and more information. And a lot of people thought that Anne Heche was actually getting ready to expose Ellen for being involved in trafficking. And honestly, this doesn't surprise me because who Ellen surrounds herself with, but even Oprah was brought up in this interview with Anne Heche. They talked about how Oprah actually cut Anne Heche out of the 20th year anniversary celebration of Ellen coming out when Anne Heche was actually in here with Ellen because Anne Heche is the one that started Ellen's coming out journey.
In later interviews, Anne Heche described her relationship with Ellen as difficult and said the public image of Ellen did not fully match her personal experience. She characterized Ellen as highly focused on success and control, reflecting her own perspective on their relationship.
Hopefully I have some more intelligence, I know I do, around it because I've studied it to be able to communicate a little bit better about what happened 20 years ago and the fact that it's taken us 20 years to be able to be at a point where we can listen to the truth again.
And Ellen's fine. She can sit on her pile of money.
I hope you like your money because that's why I broke up with you. Do you like sitting on your piles of cash? Because guess what? It gets you exactly where you are. And by the way, baby, and it's what you wanted then. And I hope you're liking it now. Cheers.
You broke up with her because she had a lot of money, or you broke up with her because...
I broke up with her because her goal was to have a lot of money and mine was to find love and hers was I want 60 billion. Good luck. Our forks are never going to meet. The further we stay on with this, the further we will be apart.
Okay. She didn't live in that love and kindness.
No, she didn't. But you and I don't talk about
she wasn't a dick.
Revenge a lot,
No, we don't. There's one thing that I remember. There is one little nugget that I do have a sense of wanting a little bit of. I guess the only word is revenge. I feel that you were so wronged. And now to know that you were continuing to be wronged, it fires me up a little bit. And especially when you look at somebody like Ellen, who literally is sitting on a pile of $60 billion and then
could feed countries.
Right. And then
but you got a Porsche.
I mean, you're not hurting. You live beautifully.
Wait, that's really funny. I just noticed that. Sorry, I have to put a pin in it. But I realized that Ellen drove a Porsche.
I want a Porsche. Well, she's not going to give me a Porsche now.
Culture and then she married one.
Not long after giving those interviews, Anne Heche was involved in a serious car crash in Los Angeles and later died from her injuries. The incident received widespread media attention, and videos from the scene led to speculation online. However, there is no verified evidence that authorities concealed information or that the crash was connected to her earlier comments about Ellen.
Understanding how human trafficking really works, you can make a difference in the life of someone else.
Ambulance, that's some sort of sign, but yes. So basically the activity that we were looking for, that anxious or that quick moving, that was going on the other side of the vehicle. Oh my gosh. He's completely alive.
What the hell?
In May 2002, the Ellen DeGeneres show was canceled. And then 2 months later, Anne Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, was in a really bad car accident where she flew her Mini Cooper into someone's house and it caught fire. And what has never sat right with me is the cross comparison between the coroner's report and the actual aerial footage. The coroner's report says that she was unconscious until her death, just from smoke inhalation and from being brain dead from the fumes in her brain. But if you look at the footage, she sits straight up, and that takes a conscious effort, I feel, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. But the other thing is her co-host Twitch died 4 months after that. And I just think that that's a suspicious amount of close people around you dying in weird ways.
Following Anne Heche's death, some online users speculated about a connection to her past relationship with Ellen. However, there is no verified evidence linking Ellen to the crash or suggesting any criminal involvement. Separately, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted for her role in Jeffrey Epstein's abuse network, and Virginia Gervais became one of the most well-known women to publicly accuse Epstein and others of abuse. Her death later drew significant public attention, but any claims about its cause beyond the official findings remain unverified.
Virginia Gervais, Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew's accused her dead at 41 by suicide. She who accused Epstein and Prince Andrew when she was underage died at suicide at 41 near Gabby, Australia, with her family stating, "It is with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia," adding she lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of abuse and sex trafficking. She filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew in 2021, claiming she was forced to have sex with him 3 times between 1999 and 2002 when she was underage. Allegations he has denied. She was a prominent accuser of Epstein who died by in 2019 in a New York City jail cell after federal charges, and his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruited Virginia at 16 years old to work for Epstein. Viva, what do you know about the story?
So the picture on the left is a picture that she posted it to Instagram saying, I've been involved in a bus accident and I have 5 days to live, renal failure or something. And the internet was looking at it and doing like CGI or AI comparisons and determining that the injury, I was saying it could be, if it's kidney failure, renal failure, you could turn jaundice or whatever. They determined that picture was likely makeup. Within a couple of days, she then takes to publicly post, sorry, I posted something private publicly by accident, that being I have 5 days to live. Because what happened is people went into it, looked in and said there was a minor fender bender somewhere in Australia. A bus hit the back of her car. It makes no sense that she's now saying she's got 5 days to live because of the injuries, because no injuries were reported. Then she comes out publicly and says, it was intended to be a private message. My excuse, thank you. No, just on that, yeah. I have 5 days to live. And then a month later, or 3 weeks later, she's dead by suicide. Nothing about this story makes any sense whatsoever, any more than I'm expected to believe that Epstein himself. She also previously had tweeted, if ever I'm not suicidal, although I think whenever someone takes to social media to say that unironically there's something going on, she posted a while back, I'm not suicidal, here you go. Making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP, I think the general practitioner. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people. Dude, we were on the cusp of of Epstein documents being released, seeing clients on that list.
Over the years, several former colleagues and public figures have spoken critically about their experiences with Ellen, contributing to ongoing debate about her workplace culture. Following the end of the Ellen DeGeneres show, the death of Stephen Twitch Boss shocked fans around the world. While his passing led to widespread online speculation, there is no verified evidence linking Ellen to his death, and claims that he left a note blaming her have not been substantiated.
On Wednesday, news broke that Stephen Twitch Boss died from a self-inflicted wound. And now, ET has learned that the former Ellen Show DJ left a note behind, indicating that he couldn't go on. ET confirmed that on Monday, Twitch checked into the Oak Tree Inn in Encino, California, a motel less than a mile from his home. When he didn't check out at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, housekeeping and management knocked on his door repeatedly before opening the door and calling the police. Twitch's death was also confirmed by his wife, Allison Holker, in a statement to ET, where she reflected on her husband's life and legacy, writing that he lit up every room he stepped into. Quote, he valued family, friends, and community above all else, and leading with love and light was everything to him.
I have the sweetest husband in the entire world.
Allison concluded her emotional statement with one final message.
Although some online commentators have speculated about possible links between Ellen DeGeneres and Jeffrey Epstein, there is no verified public evidence connecting her to Epstein's criminal activities. Discussions surrounding newly released Epstein-related records have fueled further speculation, but any claims involving Ellen remain unconfirmed.
Epstein's secret emails are set to be unredacted and released today. One of your top DC Daily headlines for July 2. Epstein files. We're set to see another batch of unredacted files today, including 8 secret emails, both to and from Epstein, about a reported torture video. Well, President Trump's acting attorney general was told by a federal judge last month that the unredacted files must be released by today or submit a reason for cause showing why he can't.
Another claim that has circulated online focuses on visual similarities between the set of the Ellen DeGeneres show and structures on Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Some social media users have pointed to these comparisons, but there is no verified evidence that the show's design was inspired by Epstein's property, and the claim remains unsubstantiated.
You know that Ellen DeGeneres' stage set is exactly the same as on Epstein Island, with all the couches, the same colour, the same soft furnishings, palm trees, window, everything to the T. And I'm like,
really?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh.
Hey, we're getting some up now.
Getting some up now on our screen?
Yeah, there's palm trees. You're right. But look at the backdrop behind her, striped building.
No, Emma, there's
palm
nothing
trees.
to see here.
So don't berate her.
I'm not berating, I'm just saying.
I'm going to look further.
Symbolism will be their downfall. Or is it just art? And let me be the first to tell you, it's all connected. I mean, if you know, you know. But first, let's go back to that video of Ellen DeGeneres. When the camera turns, you can see the inside of her house. Now, see that picture right there? Well, if you pause it and look it up, it says evil thoughts with revenge right next to it. Here's another picture of Ellen in her house, and this is the picture behind her. Now, the thing I'm curious about is the letters on top of the picture. These look oddly similar to the letters Marina Abramovich writes out when she does spirit cooking. Remember the beginning of the video? It's all connected. And that person that was in all red is Lady Gaga, and she went to Marina Abramovich many times for teaching. But let's continue. This is another picture of Ellen in her home. She's cutting her mother's hair, but what is that picture above her?
That brings us back to Ricky Gervais' well-known jokes about powerful figures and their connections to Jeffrey Epstein. His remarks sparked widespread discussion and countless interpretations online. Whether any new verified information emerges in the future remains to be seen, so we'll continue following the story as credible developments unfold.